Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Maid, and today we're going to talk about tools and how to take care of them. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here this week. We are going to talk about tools and some of my favorite tools that I use when I am quilting and how to maintain them so that they will last you a long time. So first of all, we're going to talk about rulers. I have a few favorite ones. I do have a wide range. A long 24-inch one is always good. This is the one that I have. You do have to be careful with rulers because if you drop them and they hit right, they will break. And you'll see that a couple of mine that I have that I'm going to show you are like this. So a full length 24-inch one will help with when you are cutting your yardage. It's super helpful. It goes the full width of a half with the fabric when it's folded in half. Super helpful. One of the things that I do put on the back, there are these little rubber grips. They're circles. I have a couple on here so that it doesn't move when I'm cutting. The other thing is that as I'm using my rotary cutter, I want to make sure that I go right along the edge and not trying to dig into the edge of my ruler, because then my edge of my ruler will get chipped. You want to just maintain it right along that edge, make a nice clean cut. One of my favorite rulers this is from Missouri Star Quilt Company. It's a 5x15. She designed it specifically for layer cakes. I love layer cakes. Have you figured that out yet? It has some 45 degrees on here, but on a layer cake, it'll go corner to corner on the diagonal. And since it's 5 inches, it's that perfect half of your layer cake. So this comes in super handy. I also love my small. I do a lot of small trimming, whether it's flying geese or something like that. So a 4.5-inch square, I use this all the time. So if you can invest in one, it would be great, especially one that has that diagonal so that you can use it to trim half square triangles or flying geese. And this is another one that I love, but it is broken. And I actually had another one. It came in whole sizes and half sizes. My half size one, which I used all the time, just broke clean in half because I dropped it or a kid dropped it. Sometimes my kids are super helpful. But what this does is it trims your half square triangles before you iron them open. So if you want them to be 2 inches or 4 inches, you would line that up right on your seam. And then it even has these little cuts for trimming off your dog ears. So these are super fun, super nice. I don't use this one as much, but I use that half inch, the half size one, a lot. The other thing I like to use this one specifically for, though, is it has a line here that creates a point that's a 1/4 inch from the edge. And I like to use it to trim up my flying geese. I'll line up that flying geese point on this and trim that first edge. So it's that perfect 1/4 inch and that flying geese comes right to a point right in the middle. And so that actually really helps with trimming my flying geese. Okay, next we're going to talk about rotary cutters. A sharp rotary cutter is key to cutting great fabric. If you're cutting and it's hard to push it or it's really fraying along the edges, that means your rotary cutter needs to be changed. So the rule of thumb is when you are replacing your blade on your rotary cutter, you should replace it between after every quilt that you finish. So the blade will be dull by that point, and a nice fresh rotary blade is great when you want to start a new quilt and you're starting out new fabric. So these rotary blades come in a packet. Just be careful. They are very sharp. I'm sure you know that. Keep your fingers out of the way and don't put them where little fingers can get them. So this is going to be key to creating a beautiful quilt and cutting precise fabric if you have a nice sharp rotary blade. Okay, a few other things. I love this little bag. I put a lot of my tools in here, and it allows me to keep them all in one place. So a few things I have in here are, I have marking pens and I have pencils, so I have a couple different options for that. I have that purple thing, which allows me to turn items inside out and push out the corners. I have a seam ripper because heaven forbid I make a mistake. There's another seam ripper. I actually have a couple seam rippers. Tape measure, which always comes in handy. This is a tool that if things get too tight and you need help pushing it through the machine, it has a nice point on it. And I have scissors. Let's talk about scissors. It's very important that you keep your scissors for fabric or for fabric only. So I have two different types of scissors that I use when I make my quilt. These small ones are for trimming my threads, and I'll keep them at the sewing machine, especially if I'm chain piecing. This allows me to clip them all apart, and I keep it right next to me on my sewing machine. The second one is a nice set of fabric scissors. You do not want your friend, your husband, your kids to get a hold of your fabric scissors. Fabric scissors are for, yes, you guessed it, fabric. If you cut something else with them, they're going to become dull, especially paper. So make sure you keep your fabric scissors in the fabric area and away from the household that might decide they look pretty and they look sharp and they want to use them on their next craft or their next science fair project. So have a nice pair of scissors. These are actually Tula Pink. If you're left-handed, they do make left-handed scissors, so look for them. I know that at my local quilt shop, we carry left and right-handed of these ones particular. If you feel like your scissors are getting dull, have someone sharpen them. You don't need to go buy a new pair. You can have these ones you might want to replace because they're easy to replace, but these are a good set of scissors. So I will just take them to my local quilt store and they have someone there that will sharpen them for me. Usually it'll take about a week, and then I have a nice new set of fabric scissors. What else will I need? I don't see anything here specific. I love these pens. They are Pilot Erasable Friction Fine Liner. You use them on your fabric, you put an iron on them, and they disappear with the heat. If you want your lines to come back, stick it in the freezer or the refrigerator, and you have your lines back. So these are super easy to use. A lot of times I'll just use a pencil or a pen, usually a pencil, if I think if no one's gonna see it. Like if it's like half square triangles and you're sewing a 1/4 inch down each side, a pencil will work just great. You don't have to have something fancy. That's all I have in here. The last thing that I love to use, my friend bought me this. She's a sewer as well. She actually tends to do more clothes than quilts, but we can talk about sewing, and that's super fun. This is a wrist snap bracelet. See, now you're stylish, like all the young kids. It has a magnet. It can hold your pins. It doesn't hold a lot, but it holds plenty. So it's nice. My 5-year-old likes this. because she'll drop pins and use it to pick up my pins. And I say, that's fine, as long as you pick them all up and they don't end up in my feet. Storage wise, for my rulers, there's a couple of options. Some companies create, there's like, it's a wooden block that has lines in it that are indented that you can put your rulers in sideways. It's great. I actually am, my sewing machine desk is sitting on top of a scrapbook cube. They're scrapbook cubes, and it has vertical dividers that are about 2 inches apart. Normally you would put paper in them because it's a scrapbook desk, but I find it's super easy to slide my stuff in, slide my stuff out, and I can have access to all my rulers, and it's easy to put away. I think the key to staying organized and being able to find your stuff is that you have an easy organizational system. So all of my rulers go into my desk. I don't have them in a particular order. I just have 2 slots for them to go in, and I can find them whenever I need them. My other organization, like I said, this little basket, my mother-in-law gave it to me one year for Christmas. I love it. And I like that she thought of me when she saw it. And even though I don't have a particular spot for everything, I know that I can just put my stuff in here and I will be able to find it when I need it. Other than that, there's little clips I like to use for binding. I think I showed you them when we were doing our binding tutorial. There's a couple of different feet that I talked about last week on when we were talking about sewing machines. And of course we need a nice hot iron, and I could do a whole video on iron and how to iron your quilt fabric. I would love to know what are some of your favorite storage tools. So if you would like to leave a comment, I would love to see how you like to store your tools for quilting. Also, down in the description box, I have linked to some of my favorite tools. They just go over to Amazon. I do get a small commission, but it's not because it doesn't add to you. I just get a commission if you happen to purchase through my link. Other than that, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you're up to. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's Ashley_SunnyMade. Come find me, see what I'm up to, tag me in your post. I would love to see what you're doing, and I hope you have a great week. Happy sewing!